Good evening and welcome to Chasing Prophecy on the UPRN Talk Radio 107.7 FM, New Orleans, where we discuss anything and everything beyond the scope of normal. Remember to like us on Facebook, now on Tumblr and Instagram. I'm Jenny Nicasio along with my co-hosts Sean Kelly and Jason Petro. Another week from the Twilight Zone. We have a jam-packed show tonight. That was one crazy news conference, guys. Did you get a chance to see it?
Is that the one with Rudy?
Yes. Did you?
Yes.
I'm going to start laughing again. Jason, did you see it?
Nah, I didn't get a chance.
He's
Rudy
funny.
was sweating. Either he was bleeding or his self-tanner or his makeup was running all over his poor face, and I felt really bad.
I think it was hair dye.
Was it hair dye? It was crazy. I mean, it was.
That's what it looked like to me.
It was crazy. But now, what did you take away from it, Jason, Sean? I took away from how do you say that? The Kraken? I'm not sure.
Kraken.
Kraken.
The Kraken.
That's a deep dive. I did some deep diving into that, and I got some information from Kellyanne from last week, and I found out that it's an undetected spyware that gathers information. What they do is they hack into the Dominion voting system software, and it ran free. So they literally had a supercomputer that was not only monitoring the election, but fraud in real time, creating a very detailed log of everything that occurred. Wow. They said they have the information. I don't know if they do. I'm praying that they do have the information, but we're not going to go there, right, Jason? Because I know you're just rolling your eyes over there. But
Yeah, it is.
But seriously, there was some crazy stuff. And just like that crazy stuff that was going on, you had some crazy stuff going on in your home. But before we get to that, okay, let's start off. I just want to tell you about my good friends at Pittsburgh Paranormal Society. They're a group of passionate paranormal investigators who are interested in hearing your unusual paranormal activity, either in your home or your business, okay? And they have high-tech equipment. And let me tell you, I've seen that high-tech equipment. And together with their team of professional paranormal investigators, they will gather the information they find and they will present it to you on a CD for you to keep. So if you want to keep those hauntings, you can rewind and look at them again. But you can find Pittsburgh Paranormal Society on their Facebook page, Pittsburgh Paranormal or Society, or you can actually see them on the website chasingprophecyradio.com, and you can get a hold of them that way. But Jason,
Yes.
buddy, tell our listeners what's going on in your house.
Oh, wow. Where do I start? Well, anyways, like I've mentioned in the past, this place has been really active since we moved in almost 10 years ago. And, sporadic stuff here and there. But recently, within the last several weeks, a lot of stuff's been going on to the point that we're actually going to do an investigation here, a small private one, with some of our veteran investigators. And we're getting out all the gear to see what's going on or who's here this time. Because what's going on is... So a couple weeks ago, it started with something as simple as light bulbs. All right. So I got up for work one morning. I go into my kitchen. We have all LEDs. As soon as I walk under this one light, it starts flickering. So I'm like, all right, it's early, whatever. So I go outside, getting ready to get in my truck. I had to go into my carport, and we have light spotlights out there. As soon as I walked into the beam of one of those, it blew out.
Wow.
Just completely went out. As soon as I stepped in front. So once again, I'm like, okay, whatever. It's still early. So I get to work, and I drive truck door today. So there was another guy there that I never see him in the morning, which was kind of odd. And he's like, hey, man, can you help me lift this hood on the truck because one of the hatches is broke or something? I'm like, yeah, sure, no problem. Help him lift his hood and this and that. I go to the truck that I'm driving, and next thing you know, here he comes. I'm like, what's up, man? He's like, you're never going to believe this. I start the truck, both my headlights just blew out.
Wow.
So I'm like, all right. So I was like, so that started getting me thinking and stuff, And then a couple days later, I end up going past the house on one of my routes, and I usually hit the air horn, let the family know, hey, how you doing, Well, I did something different. I actually ended up slowing down on one of my passes in front of the house. Like I slowed down and then I, hit the air horn and stuff, and as soon as I did that, because my mom was here, my wife was here, the front door unlocked and opened again, which is very, it's happened in the past. This is, I think, the third time it's ever happened. So, they call like the door just opened. We got it on video. I'm like, okay, well, shut it. Just make sure, double check everything. About an hour later, just like last time, we've got it clear as day on video. They're just sitting there. You hear the deadbolt unlock and the door just swings open.
Crazy.
I'm like, oh man, so either somebody's here or something else is going on. We're not sure. So then here's a real interesting one is we were at a church service for our son's dedication. And this is going back to the lights. And this was just this past Sunday. So we're sitting there. I'm on the end seat, and there's, light fixtures, obviously. Mm-hmm. Well, each fixture had 3 bulbs in it. So I'm sitting there. We're about halfway through service. And, I was just really honing in on what the pastor was talking about. And one of the 3 lights right above me, out of the whole church, the one above me starts flickering real intensely.
Oh, wow.
That other people were turning and looking at me. And I'm like, what's going on here? So it started flickering, and then it went out. Like a burnout. Okay. A couple of minutes goes by, it starts flickering again. And I was just thinking to myself, just stay on. And believe it or not, it came back on and stayed on like nothing ever happened. So I'm not sure, we're trying to figure out if, somebody's here maybe with a message for somebody, or if they're following me around, or a couple of the other veteran investigators are actually talking about PK, which is psychokinesis. It might be an ability that I may have had that I just didn't know it yet. So we're trying to hone in. So we're going to do this investigation and see if it's actually somebody's here following me, because we have a lot of negative energy from the woods right next door too.
Yeah.
It's terrible.
Yeah, there's something very evil in the abandoned house next door.
What's out there? Is there like a cemetery?
No, there's an abandoned house that still stands. I've seen people try to work on it, and this one guy, the one time a few years back, I'll never forget it. I heard his truck start up, and he just punched it out of there to the point that his tailgate was down. He lost all his tools in front of my house. So I scooped him up, never seen him again. And I actually got a picture of a demon in one of the windows of that house.
Yes, he does.
That's kind of crazy. Demon, huh?
Yeah, it was looking right at me. You could clearly define his eyeball and everything.
Do you have any pictures of it?
Yeah, I have evidence of everything.
Oh, that's wild.
There was also a house behind it that burned down like 20 years ago that the people were into some not so good stuff and, probably planned the fire. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So, but there's also Native Americans that roam the woods. And we made them an offering with fruit and tobacco once to kind of keep our property safe, and it worked. And then we also put up a salt line on our property line. But I think like whatever's over there is really getting aggravated because it wants over here, and we're not letting it. So I think this weekend we're gonna dive in all our gear. We're going just all out. Everything's gonna be running.
We're gonna keep some laughs.
Yeah, we're trying to see what it is. Is it
We'll have to do a Facebook Live on that one.
Yeah, so we're like I said, we're trying to figure out is it potential PK or something following us around, or specifically me in this case.
Something you need some sage or something at your house.
We've already done everything in the book.
So why don't you? I mean, do you feel like it's a malicious or just a fun ghost that likes to play with you guys?
Well, years ago we got rid of the malicious spirit that was causing a lot of problems, like literal poltergeist activity, which I have evidence of all that as well. Ever since we got rid of that, it's been spirits of, might be somebody that passed or just an estranged spirit that come through the portal, because there's portals here.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. So I don't think it's definitely not malicious, but I just want to know who it is or what they, what do they want? Do they need help moving on, or do they have a message for somebody? So we're going to do the best we can to figure out who it is and get to the
I'm
bottom
sure
of it.
you'll figure out who it is. I'm sure you guys will.
Yeah,
But yeah, but Jason, thanks for sharing that with us, and hopefully we'll get to do a
absolutely.
Facebook Live on that. Sean, do you want to introduce our guest?
Yeah. Ladies and gentlemen, I'd like to introduce our guest, Jeff Harman. He's a second generation astrologer with 45 years of experience. He will discuss the future of the president and the coming year. Will it be better in 2021 or worse? Good evening, Jeff.
Good evening. Thanks for having me on.
Hi, Jeff.
Thank
How
you
are
for
you
being
tonight?
here.
Hello, Jeff.
You bet. How you doing?
So, do you have any good news for us? But first, Jeff, why don't you? I was reading some of your bio, and you discussed different types of astrology. You talked about the what is that one called? The classical, and then you have the, I'm not sure if I'm pronouncing these right. Vedic. And,
Yeah, it's called, well, that's kind of a pop term. Yeah, Vedic is something that actually came out of India. It's very, very ancient. And I love hearing you guys talk a few minutes ago about, helping disincarnate souls and so on and so forth. There's a type of Vedic astrology. There's several. One is called Nadi, and it's all about what the angelic courts cause when they incarnate us. And many of you may have heard of the Nadi palm leaves. Did you ever hear about that? Where you go to India, they take your thumbprint, and then they come back with this palm leaf that tells you all about your family and your karmic history. It's really fascinating stuff. But that's all in the Vedic astrology, yeah.
Okay.
So, and then there's other types too, location astrology, and classical kind of goes back to Egypt and Greece. So a lot of different types of astrology.
Okay, we have a lot of background noise. I'm not sure which one of you guys is moving papers around, but it's really close to the mic. Jeff, tell our listeners, astrology is basically, okay, I'm not sure who's doing that.
Yeah, it's not me. Somebody's
not
moving
me.
something around.
I'm just sitting here still.
Yeah.
I'm sitting here being still.
I think it's that disincarnate you didn't get rid
Yeah,
of.
somebody's just a little too close to the microphone.
Sean, it might be. You never know.
It sounds like somebody's breathing, yeah. Or they got their microphone up against their shirt or something.
I'm not liking that.
Oh, boy.
Yeah, it's a paranormal show, folks.
Sean,
So
do you have your treble up too high?
Okay, how's that?
I think it's you, Sean. The button under your mic. Turn it down a little bit.
Yeah. It's down.
Okay. All right. So let's get back to the show. I'm sorry about that, folks. So you draw traditions from spiritual knowledge for clearing people and property and unwanted energy. So you do consulting work. Okay, but let's get back to the stars. Astrology is not astronomy. Oh man,
wow, that is loud.
that is really peeing me off, man, guys. I'm not sure what it is. I do apologize.
I think it's that demon he was talking about.
It might be. I don't know.
Sean, why don't you text the producer and see if he knows if it's coming from his end. So, astrology is the study of the stars, the zodiac. Mark, did we lose our guest?
Uh-oh.
Nope, I'm here.
Jeff?
Oh, there he is.
Yep, I'm here. I haven't gone anywhere.
Okay, did you hear what I said? I said, what is astrology?
Well, that's I get that question a lot. What is astrology? Is really, it's really a study of the karmic journey of souls. And, the stars is kind of a generalized term, but it's really down into, this earth and the celestial, you could say, influences. In fact, ancient astrology was astronomy. That's what's more interesting. Prior to the 1600s, the last 100 years, I kind of call it love, light, and cluelessness, because everybody runs around and says, I'm an Aries, I'm a Pisces, I'm a Gemini, and all that. Where the ancients never said that. They actually said, astrology was astronomy. In fact, there was not even a differentiation between astronomy and astrology. They just called it astronomy. And I thought it was much more sacred. They actually say you can get the name of your guardian angel from the ancient astrology using the Hebrew. And I do that a lot for clients. It's really, really cool stuff. But yeah, I guess what it is not easy to answer. What I would say is the Nadi astrology probably says it best. It says what astrology really is spirit manifest into the physical form, be it bodies or be it all life on earth. And that they attribute, much like the ancient alchemists and the ancient Kabbalists and the Egyptians, that all causation on the earth was really an angelic manifestation of spirit. And I actually kind of agree with that almost completely.
Yeah, it's really interesting. So what do you see, like if I threw out my birthday, I mean, could you do something like that, or do you have to do you sit down with a big piece of paper with like a map, and you draw out different things with the stars? So how, like, my birthday's March 9th, 1963. Now, what do you see anything for the coming year? I mean, how does that work?
Well, you got to have a little more detail than that, though.
Okay. So what would you like to know?
Okay, so spell your name. It's Jen, right?
Jennie.
Oh, I-E. Okay, it's Jenny. Okay. And I-E. And then what is your month, day, year?
I was born on March 9th, 1963.
Okay, 1963. Do you know what time you were born?
I think it was 4 p.m.
That's kind of general. Usually I like to get it right to the minute.
Yeah.
That's usually on your...
Oh, I know my birthday.
Okay. What's the city or state were you born in?
I was born in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania.
Pennsylvania. All right. The place that they're fighting over right now. Okay, so
unfortunately.
Yeah, unfortunately is right. Yeah, we can talk about the election.
Yes,
too.
we will.
So Pittsburgh, yeah, here, let me see if I can get a hit of when you were really born. You probably want to look at your process.
I think it was like 4:30 something, but I don't know the exact number.
I'm going to read it. Let me see if I can get it. Hang on. Before 4:30. Okay. It's pretty close to that, though. Let me see.
I'm curious to hear how this turns out.
4:26. I don't know.
Almost there. You're 4:27:17, if I'm reading it right. So let's see here. If that's right, you want to check your birth. Most birth certificates aren't that accurate anyhow. They're usually within a couple of minutes in a delivery. Was that PM or AM?
It was PM.
PM, okay. In Pittsburgh, all right.
Yeah, I was born on a full moon, I was told.
Ooh, nice.
Wow, you got some spunk, huh? All right, we like that. All right, that's good.
Yep, she does.
So you were in Pittsburgh.
Yes.
Yeah, what I'm doing right now is I cast a chart. Years ago, back in the 70s, I actually did do it with paper, but now we use computers. I call them computers. And essentially, let me just see here. This is good. So you're in a Jupiter period right now. You moved into that. Did your life shift a lot right around 2013?
2013? I don't know. Not really, I don't think. My dad died. My sister died.
There you go. Okay. Yeah. Okay. So there you go. That was a big shift. Yeah. Man, from 25 to 32, what happened to you? That was intense, girl. Woo. What happened to you there?
What year is that?
Well, that was from 1988 up to, it would have been really pretty cuckoo for Cocoa Puffs.
Oh, yeah.
Up to about 92.
My husband left me for a 19-year-old.
I'll bet. That was horrible, girl.
Yeah.
That was rough.
And my child was only 2 weeks old. So you know what?
Oh,
that was intense.
Wow.
Jeez.
Wow. Yeah, see, you were in that whole period up till you were about 32 years old. Rough time.
Oh yeah, it
Rough
was.
time.
Oh my God, this is
Yeah,
crazy.
it
Yeah.
was. Well, see, I'll tell you why. I'm using Vedic astrology. And see, there's a lunar mansion that surrounds the Earth. And I always joke around with the astronomers and the astrologers, no matter how much they polish the lenses on their telescopes, they're not going to see that zodiac either. It's actually 27 lunar mansions that surround the Earth that the moon travels through every month. And
Wow.
these set the time period on what we call the doshas. Dosha is a strange word in Sanskrit that actually means time period. And yeah, clearly that was a rough time.
Yeah,
girl.
it was a real
Yeah,
time.
rough. I mean, brutal rough.
Brutal.
You're lucky you got through that one.
You know what?
tell
I
you.
am. I pat myself on the shoulder every day. Got to pull up those bootstraps and move on, baby.
Oh, and a strong
you
survives.
Yeah.
You
Exactly.
got the Purple Heart during that 7 years. Let me tell
Yeah.
you. Wow.
Well, do you
Yeah.
see anything good coming out of all this?
Oh yeah, you're in a good spot right now. It's interesting because when did you start getting into the paranormal world? Was that like around 213, 214?
Yeah, well, I was a
Kinda, sorta from there?
MUFON and field investor in 2012. Yeah, I
Oh
guess
yeah,
it was
there you
around
go.
that time.
See, there you go. Yeah, you are in a 16-year Jupiter period. You'll stay in that until 2029.
Oh, boy.
Get some big changes coming up here fairly soon because what I like, let me just usually I spend 30, 40 minutes before I get online with folks in a reading. Let me just see what you got going on right now. Yeah, oh yeah. So you're born at 63, yeah. So you got a Saturn return coming up. That's everybody goes to that barbecue at least twice in their lifetime. Saturn returns, many people listening will know, Saturn takes about 28 and a half years to go around the chart. It happens to every individual somewhere around 28, 29. It'll happen again between 58 and 59. And what does that mean? See, Saturn rules karma. It's when release of a lot of old energy. Yeah, you're 57 years old, 8 months and 11 days. I'm not that smart, the computer tells me. So you got it coming right up, girl. This next year, you have a Saturn return. And what does that mean in plain English? This is really a powerful time in a person's life where a lot of old karmas pass away and you clear the decks to go to the next phase of your life. I always say life is a 3-act stage play. Act 1 is from birth to the first Saturn return, which is about 28, 29. Act 2 is from that till about 58, 59. Then you enter Act 3. I'm already in Act 3. You're just heading into Act 3. And then I say the next Saturn return will be about when you're 84 to 85. And after that one, I say it's just the exit music or the reprise. But
if I make it that far.
yeah, if you make it that far, right? Well, what's amazing about, again, Nadi astrology, it's kind of a weird word. It's Naadi. And it's very ancient. I really do believe it is probably thousands and thousands of years old. And it looks at birth and death as really an experience to purify and rectify the soul's karma. And I really, really believe that. In fact, no matter which religion you subscribe to, they all the real religions really always tell us to be, conscious of our actions and believe in divinity. Mm-hmm. And I think Nadi astrology probably underscores that better than any type of astrology I've ever seen. It's very sacred, and it really proves that we're spiritual beings having this physical experience. And, I look at many of my dear friends have passed away, and I look at exactly when that happens, and I'm just astounded at the nodes. See, most people know the Earth is at a 23-degree, 44-minute angle. There's a little dispute. NASA says it might be closer to 35 or 36, but give or take, it's at about a 23.5-degree angle. And that's why we have our seasons going around the year, because it appears in the Northern Hemisphere, at least, that the sun goes south, which it actually does because of our angularity. We're always leaned out. So here's what's mysterious about that. Go back to the moon. The moon, we have a new and a full moon every single month because the moon is orbiting around the Earth at a somewhat erratic angle, it kind of it flips up and down in its trajectory. That's why we see the moon look so huge at sometimes when it's at apogee and perigee, and then it's smaller at other times. We see that big, huge orange moon. Well, this relates to the ancient lore of Nadi astrology and Vedic astrology, where they say the moon's nodes, which are known as the eclipse points, where eclipses happen, is directly proportional to why we all live as long as we do. And we've heard in the biblical literature and the Egyptians, they all said, thousands of years ago, Moses lived to be 800, 900 years old. We heard all these ancient stories. I actually think they're true. I really do. And they say that the north node in Vedic astrology is known as Kalapurusha, which is a strange word that actually means the Lord of Time for life. So it's built in our longevity by virtue of the karmic energy we have. And this is pretty bizarre stuff, but I got to tell you, it's so accurate, it's creepy.
Yeah.
And it's really divine. And I believe that someday, because there's ancient legends in the Egyptian, Chaldean stuff, and some of the very, very ancient Vedantic stuff, that the moon never used to have waxing waning phases. It would shine all the time. If you change the angularity of the Earth and the ecliptical pattern of the moon, because we only have eclipses and new moons when the sun and the moon and the Earth join, you see? So that's our new moon and full moon every month in all the quarters. So this is directly proportional to many of the sacred inferences in Nadi astrology as to the cycles we all go through. And I really do believe there was a time we might have lived much longer than we do now. It's genetically kind of encoded in. So fascinating stuff, very fascinating stuff. And Saturn returns, like you got coming on, are powerful times of change. It's really, really powerful. This one's a big one for you because one of the things that's going on in the world right now that I've been speaking about, many years ago, I was on Coast to Coast with George Norrie, right? And George said to me, Jeff, what do you think of the Mayan calendar? And I said, not a single thing. I said, I don't believe anything with the Mayan calendar is going to hit the broadside of a barn. I said, I can't come over the thing. People remember they were buying holes in the ground and ammunition, and the end was coming. Jesus was coming, little green man on the White House lawn, all that, right? Nothing happened. So I said, and I still have said for the last decade, I said, watch out for 2020. Why? We had a Saturn-Pluto conjunction. Just FYI, 9/11 happened on the Saturn-Pluto opposition.
Yeah.
World War I broke out on a Saturn-Pluto conjunction. And what do we have? We have COVID. The Saturn-Pluto conjunction was exactly January 15th. And for anyone who's listening who's a Vedic astrologer, you'll know we had something known as a Kala Sarpa Yoga. What that means in plain English is that's when the moon's nodes, which is again the eclipse points, all the planets were in between them. And it broke in May. And I really believe that COVID started dissipating in May. I think I'm not saying COVID isn't real, but from all the doctors I've spoken to who get bounced off of Facebook, Twitter, and everything else for saying anything that's truthful, they all say the numbers don't match.
Exactly.
And just like we were talking before the show, Elon Musk just had 4 tests. 2 were positive, 2 were completely negative. So anyways, you can call it the scam plan or pandemic, whichever prefix you like.
Pandemic.
Pandemic.
Exactly.
It's a pandemic.
It's a pandemic. Yes.
But I'm not saying it's not real, but on the other hand, I've had infectious disease experts say if you're standing next to someone and they got COVID and you got a mask on, the disease is 2 microns or less, you're going to get it.
Yeah.
One way or another. Yeah. The Sweden test showed. So, but anyways, so we had that, and then we have the Saturn-Jupiter conjunction coming up when? On the winter solstice of this year. Not the day before, not the day after, exactly on it. And that's big for you because that's also happening for you right as your Saturn return kicks in here Jenny.
Yeah.
I'd have to kick you up in another program to look at other things, but in general, this is going to be a really profound time for you. I really believe from all the one of the types of astrology I use the most is called Interrogation Astrology. Many people listening might know it by horary. That's the Latinized term. I hate that word. Sounds like it's got hair on it or something. But Interrogation Astrology is literally divinational. You can cast a chart. And one of the things, I've heard all year, what do you think is going to win, Biden or Trump? And I said Trump, hands down. I was just on Jimmy Church on election night, and, I was a little careful because, people, if you say anything to, you got to remember, I live in California. And if I say anything positive about Trump, a swarm of Priuses show up outside my window and they throw bricks through the window.
Yeah, news will get you.
Oh, yeah. And then they say namaste and they drive away.
Namaste.
But anyhow, so I really think Trump's going to take this. And as we heard today, you guys were talking about Giuliani and his hair dye.
Yes.
But I could tell you, poor guy, I felt so bad for him. I was like, can somebody get a clean?
I know. He was wiping his face off like crazy.
Oh,
yeah. So,
anyways, I think Trump's going to. I think Trump is going to. There's one guy I see taking the oath on January 20th, and it ain't Biden. It's Trump.
Do you have that in the stars? I mean, is it written out?
Well, I wouldn't call it the stars. I think the Interrogation Astrology shows it. See, Interrogation Astrology works by you cast a chart, and the eastern horizon becomes you, the querent, or whoever's asking the question. Mm-hmm. And the houses, which are the 12 divisions around the sphere of the earth, you literally look at the rulers of those and see what geometric aspects they make. And I've consistently got, I told Jimmy Church on Fade to Black, I said, Jim, you're not going to know who the president is tonight. And that was on November 3rd. I said, you're not going to find out for a while. But I said, I see this, I was being conservative. I said, I see it leaning towards Trump. I actually don't see it leaning towards Trump. I see it absolutely going to Trump. And I tell you another thing is when I look at Biden's chart and I look at Trump's chart, Trump's got it. He's got the yogas. In fact, interestingly enough, as the month wears on, Trump gets stronger because Jupiter, which is they call the Jiva life force of the soul, actually makes a trine to Trump's sun. And it also trines his Jupiter in his chart, which is a very powerful aspect. Slide Biden, he's got nothing that I can see other than he's just going to fade away. The last thing I'll say about this, too, is location astrology. Location astrology is amazing. You literally take your chart, your birth chart, you extrapolate it across the globe, and you can see where's a good place to live. I do a lot of that in my reads. And one of the things I found about Biden that blew my hair back, he has Neptune transiting right over Washington, D.C., which, by the way, I changed D.C. to the District of Criminals instead of District of Columbia. But it's hanging right over there. Guess when it leaves? Right in the middle of December. So I still think it's smoke and mirrors. He might be calling himself president-elect, but I don't think he's going to be in there.
Yeah, well, I hope you're right.
I'm curious to see how this all plays out. With knowing stuff like that.
Well, comrades, I can tell you, comrades, if I'm not right, we're all going to be going to re-education camp soon.
Oh, don't even stop.
Probably at gunpoint.
Well, what about the reset?
Then there's something happened in the universe.
What's that? I couldn't hear you.
I don't know where he went. He died.
Pap, where'd you go?
Oh, well, he's gone.
Oh, I'm here.
We didn't hear what you said.
Am I here?
Can you?
Barely.
My God, I'm not even on my mic. I'm just on my phone.
Okay, well, what was it? The question you had for him?
Yeah, the question I have for him, I was speaking to a couple of people, other people that were doing astrology, and they kind of think that what happened was they kind of think that for all the way the Earth is moving and all that stuff, I was born under Gemini, couldn't it moved like 3 or 4 degrees into where we have a different astrology forecast.
Well,
You
it's
know,
always moving. See, if you're using sidereal astrology, it's called the precession of the equinoxes. Yeah, we move 1 degree every 72 years. It's constantly moving. And the Earth is constantly moving. Oh, yeah. So I don't use tropical as much as I use sidereal. And sidereal takes precession into account. But, you know, and the other one I hear a lot is, yeah, but the earthquakes and the tornadoes and the tsunamis that move the Earth, not a chance. I mean, you'd need a tsunami that would move the Earth 100 miles to get like 0.01 of a degree. And I got news for you. If we get an earthquake that big, we're going to be all looking for a new place to sleep.
Yeah.
That hasn't happened.
Yeah, I was just like not concerned about it, but it sounded logical. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I'll tell you another thing that's really, I think, is worrisome for me. Watch and again, I'm not one to do fear porn or you know, drum up, you know, the fear in people. So I'm always about, hey, you know, mind over matter. But on the other hand, I think as the full moon happens on this month, which is exactly November 30th, we are going to start to see the other side come unhinged. By the new moon, which is the December 14th, that, by the way, is the exact day that the Electoral College is supposed to determine who is or who isn't president. That point forward into January, you may see this place become unhinged. I wouldn't be surprised if they bring in the military, and they may have to. We may welcome martial law. They're gonna go unhinged.
Oh
it's
my
going to be
God,
off
yeah.
the charts.
Ooh.
If it
I
goes
hope I'm
in
wrong,
Trump's direction, I can see that happening. I can see, definitely.
Well, you know what's interesting is I blame the media a lot for
Oh my
this.
God,
You
yeah.
know, Obama signed a National Defense Authorization Act in 2012. And I think it was actually January 2nd of 2013. He signed H.R. 4310 into law. And it's known as the Smith-Mund Modernization Act of 2012. And it was actually signed in. And what it allows our media to kind of let down its guard. And we see people are so polarized, largely due to the insanity in the media.
Yeah.
It's absolutely insane. They've just whipped up a frenzy of hatred. You know, there's two things on CNN. It's hate, orange guy, and COVID-19. That's it.
I actually have a question.
It's crazy.
Yeah.
So I have a question. A lot of people, think that, we're entering the end of times per se. From an astrology point of view, how do you do you have any input on that? With what's going on with the virus and then all this other stuff that's happening out there right now. Do you think we're actually entering an end of times according to the astrology?
I think we're entering a new one. It's really interesting. There's something known as the Great Conjunctions, and they were happening every about 1,000 years. This goes all the way back to the purported time of the flood for Noah, which many geologists actually say probably happened from what they can discern from geology. And the one that we had 240 years ago was the beginning of the Industrial Revolution. And interestingly enough, the founding fathers of the United States, who I think were not just smart, I think they were absolute geniuses, because the more I look at our Constitution and I look at the founding fathers, the way they framed that Constitution and the Bill of Rights and all that, was probably the greatest document that's ever been constructed in modern or recorded history. It's where else can you live? And every race, every creed can have freedom. That's why I love this country. And they knew that time was coming in, because they were all Masonic. And even though I know the churches hate the Masons, but there's a big war there between Rome and the Masons. But they knew that the great conjunction of Jupiter and Saturn in Aries was happening. Well, guess what? That was also the beginning of the Industrial Revolution. This winter solstice, in tropical astrology, there is a joining of Jupiter and Saturn for the first time in what we call a new triplicity. Triplicity is our earth, air, fire, and water, the four elements, right? So it's happening in an air sign. And this has not happened quite like this for 240 years. So I believe it's ushering in a new age. And I think it's going to be a high-tech age beyond our wildest dreams.
Yeah.
I really do.
Yeah.
I think we're going to see flying cars. I don't know how, well, you guys all sound like we're all fairly close. I remember people in the 60s saying, we're going to be flying around like the Jetsons by 1985. Yeah, and it never happened. It would. But I think it's going to happen now.
Yeah.
I really do. I think in the next 10, 20 years, I've heard, speaking of Donald Trump, his uncle was involved in the acquisition of much of Tesla's technology, MIT and CIA. And I think the government has had cold fusion and many other energies. It just hasn't become commercially feasible. And I think we're going to start to see this stuff come out soon. And I think we're going to need an economic reset because this COVID has bankrupted not just the United States, but half the world. And
but you don't want that reset, though. The reset's not good, though.
Depends on what it is. I mean, there's a lot of versions of that reset that I've been hearing. I think the Fed is going to, I don't see something like that if the astrology is right until about 2022. And I think it's going to be a lot different than, and I don't know which one you're referring to, but the one that they're proposing now.
I don't know. I'm just
saying. Yeah, the United States, what's really cool is the United States actually has a birth chart. Astrologers use several different versions. The one that I kind of like, it's named after Ebenezer Sibley. He was a Mason who was purported to have been present during the signing when it commenced. And so everyone calls it the Sibley chart, the U.S. Sibley chart, named after his last name. And I can tell you the United States, no matter who's president, is going to be going through some serious reworking over the next 2 years. We have a Pluto return in 2022. That's going to bring huge changes. We have Neptune opposing Neptune. In Vedic astrology, Saturn is transiting the United States South Node. And thank God Jupiter joins it. That helps a lot. Starting when? Literally tomorrow. So, and it's interesting, this press conference today, I believe we're going to see this turnout, even though it's going to be very challenging the next couple of years. I think it's going to turn out much better than we think.
Hello. Hello.
Yeah.
Hello.
I'm sorry.
Yep.
Sorry. Okay, just keep going, guys. Yeah, I think it's amazing that the stars can impact our lives like they have, and we are even the moon is the moon, you say, is included in the astrology and all that. It's included.
Absolutely. It's probably one of the most. So it's one of the most important. It's always considered as the co-mixer of energy from what we call the eighth sphere, which is the fixed stars, into the solar system amalgamation of energies. And the moon is the kind of the crucible, if you will, where that energy seems to be modulated into the earth. It's very, very important.
Yeah, it's amazing. And so you, as an astrologer, feel that the outcome of the election is going to go towards Trump. And
that's what it leans towards. Yep.
And what do you see COVID ending and the stars and all that stuff going away?
I really do. I think it has been politicized far greater than it is. And I think there's some very coercive forces behind that. That's just my opinion. And, I'll get sued or whatever. But I think COVID's for real, so I'll say that. So you can sue me. whoever's listening. I just think from what I've heard from doctors and specialists that the numbers don't match what they're telling us. And the data doesn't match. Again, I'm not saying it's real, but they say the therapeutics and now the vaccines are literally able to eradicate it.
Hopefully.
For all practical purposes.
Well, according to the press conference tonight with the vaccines and everything, so I think it's going to end soon, hopefully.
Well, that one vaccine they said has to be stored at like negative 94 degrees.
Like how are they going to do that? I mean, it's like,
yeah, right.
Yeah.
And then they put that in you. I mean, frozen vaccine. I mean,
it'll freeze. It'll freeze
your
blood.
It's like so.
Yeah. Of course, I met some people that might not. They might warm it up. And he was just sorry, but
but I don't know, guys.
It's getting closer to witching hour.
Okay. Thank you so much for joining us tonight.
Yeah.
So glad
we'll
we got to share the whole show with you.
Yeah. We'll see what happens, but that's what the charts lean towards. It really does lean towards Trump's going to end up proving in a number of ways that the election is fraudulent. I think it's going to end up either at the Supreme Court or through the Electoral College, where it's going to. I just see him taking the
12th Amendment, maybe. Well, at the
that's where it's going. Yeah,
that's what it seems
like.
I think
that's where it's going.
So Jeff, let us know where if someone wants to get a hold of you for an astrology forecast. Where can they get a hold of you?
Yeah, the best way is Jeff at jeffharman.com, and that's JEFFHARMAN.com. And you can just go to jeffharman.com, and there's a way to go in on the email. And Jeff at jeffharman.com is the best way.
It was really great to have you here, and I'm looking forward. I'm looking forward to my better years to come. So thank you for that, and and thank you so much for joining us. It was very enlightening, and I'm so glad we had that time.
Well, thanks for having me.
You're welcome.
Yes, thank you, Jeff.
We'll have to bring you back another time. Sean, tell our audience.
Holidays.
Hey, happy Thanksgiving and Happy New Year and all that good stuff.
You got okay.
Sean, tell our audience where they can get a hold of you for a paranormal investigation.
Yes, they can go to Facebook, our Facebook page, Pittsburgh Paranormal Society, and we are on Instagram, Pittsburgh_paranormal_society.
Okay. And I welcome everyone to continue the conversation on Facebook and Instagram. And remember, we're on Tumblr right now. And please check out my author page at J.E. Nicasio. My trilogy From the Sky has been optioned for a movie, so you might want to read it before it becomes a movie. And if you think you'd be a great sponsor for our show, we need our sponsors so we can continue on this route. Please email us at chasingprophecyradio@gmail.com. Remember to like us on Facebook and Instagram, and check out and subscribe to Chasing Prophecy Radio on our YouTube channel. Stay safe. Good night, everyone. And we'll see you we won't see you next week because it's Thanksgiving. So we will have a repeat of one of our shows, hopefully the one with John Bentry, which was really interesting. So stay safe. Happy Thanksgiving, everyone. And thanks for tuning in to Chasing Prophecy.
Thanksgiving.
Thank you, everyone.